Have you ever noticed how some older men walk into a room and instantly shift the energy? No flashy clothes, no cheesy pickup lines, no desperate need to prove anything. And yet, younger women notice. They lean in, they listen, they smile. It's not magic. It's not money. It's presence. It's maturity. It's confidence that doesn't try too hard. If you're a man in your 40s, 50s, maybe even 60s, and you're watching this, I'm going to tell you something most guys your age don't hear enough. You're not past your prime. You're just starting to understand your real power. Because here's the truth: youth might attract attention, but depth, composure, and masculine stillness, that's what keeps it. That's what drives younger women crazy in ways they don't fully understand. In this video, we're breaking down 7 powerful flirting tactics older men use, not to impress, not to convince, but to draw younger women in naturally, with no chasing, no pretending, no games. Every one of these strategies is backed by psychology, and yes, sharpened by the wisdom of Stoicism. You'll learn how to be less obvious, but more unforgettable. How to speak less, but say more. How to touch her attention without even touching her. But fair warning, this isn't for men who want shortcuts or fake charm. This is for men who are ready to own their years, their silence, their energy, and let that speak for them. So if you're ready to play a different game, the kind only men with real presence can win, you're in the right place. Make sure you subscribe right now, because what you're about to learn doesn't just change how women see you, it changes how you see yourself. Let's start with the first tactic. Number 1. Own your age. It's your secret weapon. Own your age. Don't hide it. Don't shrink it down or try to package it like something you're trying to pass off. Age isn't a flaw, it's a filter. It separates the boys from the men. And women, especially younger women, notice it when you carry it well. The mistake most older men make when they flirt with younger women is not what they say, it's how they carry themselves. They try too hard to compensate. They speak fast, laugh loud, chase trends, and try to shrink their age down to something more socially acceptable. But that energy smells like insecurity, and no one is drawn to that. What actually creates attraction is something quieter. Stillness, presence. When you walk into a room and your posture already speaks, when your eyes don't scan but observe, when you move like you've got nothing to prove and no one to impress, that's when she starts paying attention. Not because you're younger, but because you're solid. You are not competing with the boys. You've already won that round. She's not looking for someone who mirrors her world. She's looking for someone who's walked through storms and didn't lose his balance. Someone who's been broken, rebuilt, tested, and didn't crumble. Someone whose face holds stories and whose silence speaks louder than flattery. You don't need to fake youth, you need to radiate depth. The way you sit, the way you speak slowly, the way you choose your words like a man who values stillness more than noise. The way you listen like you've learned that talking less often says more. These things matter. Your age is not your burden, it's your signal. It tells her you've lived, you've lost, you've built, you've buried, you've broken and grown again. You've seen fire and learned how to walk through it without making a scene. That's Stoicism, and that's the kind of man younger women don't forget. The ones who don't ask for attention. The ones who make eye contact and don't blink, who smile slowly, who never rush, who hold space like they own it. The key is to stop apologizing for your years. They're your armor, not your baggage. Don't try to dress like her age. Dress like yours. Don't try to move like you're 25. Move like a man who knows his value. Because when she looks at you, she's not looking for youth. She's looking for the calm in a storm. She's looking for weight, for steadiness, for the kind of man who doesn't perform, he just is. You don't need to announce your worth. When you own your age, she feels it before you speak. And when you fully accept that, you stop chasing. Because you realize something deeper. You're not too old. You're finally ready. If you feel that, type it in the comments. I own this. stick around. What's coming next might just change how you move for the rest of your life. Number 2. Don't chase her beauty, see through it. You see a beautiful woman and something in you tightens. Your eyes widen. Your voice lifts just a little. You think, maybe if I compliment her, maybe if I smile more, she'll open up. But the moment you start chasing beauty, you lose her interest. Not because you're wrong to admire her, but because she can sense it. Women, especially younger women, have felt pursued for their looks their whole lives. They know what it feels like to be seen as decoration. They're numb to compliments, immune to attention. She doesn't want another man who's stunned by her face. She wants a man who sees through it, a man who looks at her and isn't hypnotized, a man who recognizes beauty but doesn't shrink in front of it. Think about it. How do powerful men move through the world? They don't throw praise at every woman they meet. They're selective with their attention. They speak less and observe more. And when they do compliment someone, it lands harder, because it comes from a place of clarity, not desperation. When you chase beauty, your energy becomes needy. You become predictable, replaceable, just another man hoping she picks him. But when you see through it, when you look at her and don't flinch, something shifts. You stop treating her beauty like a prize and start treating her like a person. That's rare, that's attractive, and that's the difference between boys and men. Younger women crave being understood, not flattered. They want someone who listens to the subtext, who pays attention to the way they talk about their day, their passions, their fears. And when you focus on her mind, not her makeup, it disarms her. Suddenly, you're not like the others. You're not trying to impress, you're trying to connect. That's what pulls her in. She starts to lean forward, not because you chased her, but because you didn't. You held your ground. You made her feel like more than a mirror. There's a Stoic principle that fits here perfectly. Focus on what's within your control. You can't control her face, her body, her reaction, but you can control where you place your attention. You can choose to notice her calm under pressure, her curiosity, her wit. You can choose to admire something no one else does. That makes you unforgettable, because now when you speak, it carries weight. She knows you're not chasing, you're noticing. That's power. So the next time you sit across from her and she looks stunning, don't get nervous, get sharper. Don't lower your standards to match her looks. Raise your standards for what beauty means to you. And when you compliment her, say something real, something that hits beneath the surface. Then go back to being still, being present. Let her wonder how you got so grounded. Let her feel that you're different, because while other men get lost in her appearance, you just became the one man who saw past it. If that shift makes sense to you, write this down in the comments. I see deeper. Stick around. The next insight isn't about saying more. It's about saying nothing and still having the upper hand. Number 3. Dominate the room without saying a word. You walk into a room. You don't say a word. No big entrance, no fake grin, no attention-seeking energy. Yet somehow, everyone notices you, especially her. Why? It's not about height, not about muscles. It's the energy. And energy is loud even when you're silent. Every man gives off a signal when he enters a space. Most men radiate noise, nervous laughter, twitchy body language, too much eye contact or none at all. They're trying to be noticed. And the harder they try, the more invisible they become. The man who truly dominates a room doesn't need attention. He owns the space by being anchored in himself, not distracted, not performing, just present. This presence is built on restraint, on calm. It's in how you walk deliberate, not rushed. How you sit shoulders relaxed, chin up. It's in the pauses before you speak, the patience in your eyes, the way you hold stillness like a throne, not a cage. When a woman sees that, she doesn't just see confidence, she sees command. And it stirs something deeper than attraction. It stirs curiosity. Who is this man? Why is he so composed? Why doesn't he need the room's approval? That's the beginning of dominance. Not control over others, but control over yourself. There's a reason Stoicism has always been tied to powerful men, because it trains you to manage your reactions, your attention, your posture. The Stoics believed in mastering what's within. That inner mastery, when practiced consistently, becomes visible, tangible. People feel it when you enter a room. And it doesn't require wealth or status. It requires practice. Practice holding silence. Practice being comfortable, not reacting. Practice letting others talk while you observe. Practice being the calm center in a chaotic space. Younger women in particular are hyper-tuned to this kind of energy. They live in a world full of overstimulationless noise, messages, games. So when a man walks in and carries zero chaos, he becomes magnetic, not because he demands attention, but because he doesn't chase it. You don't need to be the loudest voice. You just need to be the one who isn't rattled. That's what she remembers. Dominating a room is not about being alpha. It's about being grounded. It's not about being better than other men. It's about being better than your own impulses. You don't fight for space, you expand naturally into it, with presence, with weight, with clarity. Let her notice you without words. Let your posture speak. Let your silence stretch. Let your stillness unsettle what's weak and calm, what's real. You don't need to speak loudly to be heard. You just need to be deeply sure of yourself when you say nothing. And when the moment comes when you do finally say something, every head turns, because they already felt you coming. If that's the kind of presence you're building, drop this in the comments. I move quiet. And trust me, what's coming next will change the way you lead without saying a single word more. Number 4. Take the lead. Stop asking for permission. You're on a date. She looks at you and says, "I don't know, what do you want to do?" And you freeze. You think you're being polite. You think asking her opinion is respectful. But in that pause where you hesitate, where you give up, the wheel she starts to pull away. Not because you're rude, not because you said something wrong, but because you just gave up your power. Women, especially younger women, aren't looking for someone to follow them around asking for direction. They're looking for someone who knows where he's going and invites them to come along. Taking the lead isn't about dominance, it's about clarity, it's about presence. It's about knowing what you want, saying it simply, and moving forward without needing her approval first. Let's be clear, taking the lead doesn't mean ignoring her, it means including her in a world you're already building. It means saying, "I made us a reservation here," instead of, "Do you want to eat here?" It means walking on the street side without needing to announce it. It means choosing the table by the window because the light is better and owning that choice. The moment you stop asking for permission, your energy shifts. You stop looking for validation. You stop outsourcing your confidence. And that's when she feels the shift. Not just in what you say, but in how you say it. Fewer questions, more direction. Less doubt, more direction. There's a calm strength in the man who leads without forcing. He's not loud, he's not aggressive, but when plans fall apart, he adapts. When things get awkward, he holds the frame. When emotions get high, he stays grounded. That's Stoicism in motion. It's Marcus Aurelius in the flesh, composed, decisive, ready. Younger women pick up on this instantly. They notice when you hesitate, when you fish for cues, when you backpedal on decisions. But they also notice when you don't flinch, when you say, "We're going here," and walk with purpose. When you touch the small of her back as you guide her through the crowd, not because you're being controlling, but because you're creating direction and safety. Leadership is sexy. Quiet confidence is addictive. And the less you ask for permission to be that man, the more she wants to follow your lead. Now, let me pause here for something important. If this message is hitting something in you, if part of you is remembering the man you used to be, or the one you've always wanted to be, then don't just listen. Join the movement. Subscribe to this channel right now. And if you're ready to go deeper, to step fully into this version of yourself and connect with a community of men who are done asking for permission to lead their own lives, then become a Stoic member. We're building something powerful here, something solid, and I want you in it. Because the truth is, leadership isn't something you earn by waiting, it's something you claim by stepping forward. If this hits, and you're done hesitating, write this in the comments. I lead now. And don't go anywhere. What comes next will shift the way you create moments that she remembers long after the conversation ends. Number 5, create tension, not attention. There's something more powerful than compliments, louder than showing off, stronger than trying to be the center of attention. It's tension. You see, most men think attraction is about being noticed, loud laughs, bold moves, showing her you're the man. But all that energy is external. It's scattered. It fades fast. Because what grabs attention isn't what holds desire. Tension does something different. It pulls. It lingers. It builds pressure between two people without saying anything obvious. It's in the look that lasts a second too long, the pause before a response, the choice to not answer a question right away, the silence you let stretch between two sentences. That's what she remembers. That's what keeps her thinking about you hours after you're gone. Tension is space, controlled space. You're not chasing her with words or praise. You're inviting her into your energy without forcing it. And that gap between you and her, that space you leave open, makes her lean forward. Not because you begged for it, but because you didn't. This is where presence becomes more powerful than performance. You sit across from her, and instead of filling every silence, you wait. You let the air between you charge up. You let her notice the calm in your body, the steadiness in your breath. You're not rushing the moment, you're expanding it. This is rare for her. Most men are in a hurry, to make a move, to get a laugh, to say something clever. But when you slow down, when you withhold just enough, you create mystery. You leave room for her imagination. And in that imagination, she starts to picture more. That's tension. Stoicism teaches us to stay anchored in discomfort, to not react instantly. That's exactly how you build tension. By not reacting right away, by being the one who doesn't flinch, by holding your ground, not just physically, but emotionally. She says something bold. You don't overreact. She tests you. You smile, but you don't bite. That control, that restraint, is magnetic. But let's be clear, tension is not coldness. It's not pretending to be disinterested. It's emotional discipline. It's knowing you're attracted to her, but not collapsing into it. It's allowing the chemistry to build slowly, like fire smoldering before it explodes. That's what creates the pull energy women talk about. And here's the beautiful part: when you master this, you don't have to talk much, you don't have to impress. The room doesn't need to know your name, because the way you occupy space is doing all the work for you. One subtle touch at the right moment can send shockwaves through her body. A glance from across the room that lingers for half a second longer than expected can say more than a paragraph ever could. These are the moments she rewinds in her head. These are the fragments that build tension, piece by piece. Remember, you're not here to entertain her. You're here to invite her into your world, slowly, intentionally. And the slower you build that tension, the stronger the connection becomes. This is the power of not rushing, of not overreaching, of letting her feel your presence instead of your performance. If you're done trying to be the loudest in the room and ready to master tension instead, say it in the comments. I build tension. And don't blink now. The next move will shift how she hears your stories and what they unlock in her. Number 6, talk less, tell stories, make her imagine. You don't need to talk more. You need to talk better. There's a strange instinct many men have on a date. They feel like silence is the enemy. So they keep filling space, more facts, more opinions, more talking. And while they're talking, she's drifting. Not because she doesn't like them, but because there's no space for her to feel anything. Now, imagine this. You're at a bar. She asks what you do. Most guys give a straight answer. I work in finance. End of sentence. You pause. You smile. And you say, let me tell you a story from my first year on the job. It involved 2 cops, a missing server, and me climbing a fence in a suit. She laughs. She leans in. She wants to know more. That's the difference between information and stories win. Telling a story isn't about performance. It's about pulling her into a world. It's not about trying to impress her with facts. It's about letting her feel what it was like to be there. The smells, the tension, the decision you had to make, what went wrong, what surprised you. That's what activates her imagination. And imagination is where desire begins. See, when you flood her with words, her brain tunes out. But when you tell the right kind of story, short, honest, with emotional way, the brain starts doing the work for you. She pictures it. She feels it. She puts herself in the scene. And that mental investment, it's deeper than logic. It's emotional. Here's the secret. Talk just enough to plant the seed, then let her imagination do the rest. This is why you don't need to explain everything. You don't need to overshare. Let your words breathe. Let there be space around them. Let her ask questions. Curiosity is more powerful than certainty. You're not trying to win with volume. You're trying to win with resonance. And when you do speak, speak like a man who's lived. Share lessons, not lectures. Share moments that shaped you. Times when you failed. Times when you risked something. Times when you saw the world differently afterward. Younger women are drawn to that emotional maturity. They're tired of small talk, tired of hearing the same surface-level chatter. When you open up, not emotionally dumping, but being real, you give them a new experience, one that feels authentic, one that makes them want to know more. That's what pulls her in, not just who you are, but how you tell it. And here's what most men forget. When you create space with your words, you create energy between you. She starts imagining not just your story, but a story with you. Her brain starts building bridges. And that's where things get interesting. Stoicism teaches us to choose our words carefully, to speak with intention. Every sentence you say should move things forward or deepen the stillness between you. Both are powerful. So the next time you're with her, resist the urge to say everything. Let her do some of the work. Let the tension of not knowing yet stir inside her. And when you do speak, make it count. A story well told can live in her mind for days. A glance between sentences can linger for hours. You don't need a speech. You need presence, a memory, and the courage to say just enough. If you understand that, and you're ready to speak less so she feels more, say this in the comments. I speak less. Stick with me, because what you're about to learn next is what makes her chase something she can't explain, and that starts from within you. Number 7, let her chase the calm inside you. There's a reason she texts you after the date, even when nothing happened. It wasn't the jokes, it wasn't your outfit. It was how she felt when she sat across from you. Calm, safe, seen. In a world that spins too fast, with constant noise and people chasing dopamine like a drug, a man who radiates calm is unforgettable. Especially to a younger woman who's used to chaos, used to attention-hungry guys, emotional highs and lows, fast texts, fast energy, fast collapse. But you didn't chase. You didn't react. You didn't try to manage her impression of you. You stayed centered, grounded, unmoved. That calm, that's what she remembers. And here's the thing, she'll chase that calm if it's real, not forced, not fake zen, but the kind of inner quiet that comes from experience, from being through some hard seasons and not needing to explain them. from knowing your emotions without letting them run your day. That's Stoicism in action. See, most men walk into a room with their nervous system in full broadcast mode. Eyes darting, shoulders tight, voice slightly strained. They're trying to read the room and adjust. They're constantly reacting. You don't do that. You set the tone. You move slower, speak less. You're not there to perform, you're there to observe, to listen, to choose your words. And she picks up on that immediately. You're not controlled by the environment. You're influencing it quietly just by how you carry yourself. You become the emotional anchor in the room, the one who doesn't shift with the mood, doesn't rise with the drama. And that kind of emotional steadiness is rare. It's something she hasn't felt, often not in guys her age, and maybe not even in relationships before. That's why she leans in. That's why she watches how you respond to tension. That's why she feels something around you she can't name. Let her chase that. Don't try to over-explain yourself. Don't tell her how calm you are. Just be it. When she tells a dramatic story, listen, but don't mirror the drama. When she gets quiet, stay relaxed. Don't rush to fill the silence. Let it exist. Let her feel what it's like to sit with someone who doesn't fear stillness. And when you do speak, speak like a man who's thought before he opened his mouth, who's lived, who's felt things but doesn't wear his pain like a badge. She doesn't want perfection. She wants regulation. She wants to be around a man who won't collapse when life hits hard, who won't become a boy when emotions rise, who can take chaos and turn it into clarity. That's the man she chases, the one who doesn't flinch, the one who doesn't beg, the one who doesn't try to match her energy. He invites her into his. And yes, this takes time, discipline, reflection. It means practicing stillness when everything around you tells you to react. It means slowing your breath, calming your thoughts, letting go of the urge to be understood immediately. But when you get there, when you really carry that calm inside you, you become the gravity in the room, and she'll want to orbit it. If you're becoming that man, or ready to become him, say it in the comments. I am calm. Don't go anywhere. Because next we go deeper, not into her but into your past, and what it quietly reveals every time you flirt. Number 8. Touch with your vibe before your hands. Before you ever touch her hand, she's already decided how it will feel. It's not about skin, it's about energy. It's about the vibe you bring before your fingers ever get close. And if your presence isn't already touching her mind, her nerves, her imagination, then your hands won't matter. Most men rush the physical. They think touch starts with contact. They reach too soon, too clumsy, too eager. But the truth is, women feel you before you touch them. They read your eyes, your posture, your pacing. They sense whether your calm is real or fake, whether your attention is centered or scattered. Touch begins with energy, the vibe you carry, the tone in your voice, the way you look at her, not with hunger, but with presence. Let me ask you something. Have you ever been near someone who didn't touch you but made you feel like you'd been held? That's the power of emotional touch, and that's where real attraction starts. Not with grabbing her waist, but with how you hold her gaze. Not with brushing her arm, but with how safe and curious she feels in your space. Younger women are hypersensitive to this. They've grown up surrounded by forced energy men who push too fast, too soon. So when they meet someone who knows how to wait, who knows how to build, who lets the moment stretch without pressure, it confuses them in a good way. It feels rare. It feels real. Stoicism teaches restraint, not repression. You're not shutting down your desire. You're channeling it. You're not pretending you're not attracted. You're choosing how that attraction shows up. And when you learn to carry heat without leaking it all over the place, she feels it deep in her body before you've touched anything. That's how you flip the dynamic. You stop trying to break the tension. You become the source of it. And when you do touch her gently, slowly, it doesn't feel like a test. It feels like the obvious next step in a dance you're both already moving through. Think of touch like music. You don't start with the loudest note. You let it build. You create rhythm, silence, contrast. You let her lean into it before it arrives. When you're tuned in, her body responds before you do anything. Her pupils shift, her shoulders soften. She leans just slightly forward. And you're not chasing that signal. You're receiving it. You're listening with your presence. That's what separates men who rush from men who resonate. It's not about being safe or being smooth. It's about being in control of yourself. You don't touch because you need to. You touch because the energy has already earned it. And if you don't feel that vibe yet, you wait, you build, you create more space. You look, you listen, you let her curiosity rise. She's not afraid of being touched. She's afraid of being touched by someone who doesn't know himself. So know yourself. When the moment is right, don't overthink it. But let your energy touch her long before your hand ever does. Because that's what she'll remember. That's what she'll replay later alone. That's what makes you different. If you're ready to bring that kind of presence into every room, every date, every interaction, drop this in the comments. I touch without touching. And get ready. Because what comes next is about power, not over her, but over yourself, and that's when everything changes. Number 9. Don't fill the silence, own it. Silence used to make you sweat. You'd feel it creeping in between sentences. You'd rush to break it, to fill it with any words, jokes, facts, questions. You thought it meant something was wrong. That if there was silence, she was bored, or worse, losing interest. But now you know better. Silence is not a problem. It's a test, and it's one of the most powerful signals a man can give. Because silence doesn't expose her, it exposes you. It shows whether you're comfortable in your own presence, whether you can hold a moment without needing to be validated, whether you can be heard without speaking. The average guy thinks silence is awkward, that it means connection is slipping. So he panics, he overshares, he rushes to explain. He turns the moment into noise. But the man who owns silence doesn't flinch. He lets the stillness breathe. He lets the woman feel the space between his words, and in that space, something deeper grows. Think about the most magnetic men you've ever seen. They don't talk fast. They don't chase the room. They pause. They leave room between thoughts. When they speak, people lean in. Why? Because silence creates gravity. It's the opposite of what the world teaches us. Online, everyone's screaming over each other. Everyone wants to be heard first. But in real life, the man who waits, who watches, speaks last and says, less is the one with true power. And women feel this, especially younger women who are constantly surrounded by digital noise. They're used to fast talkers, constant validation, and surface-level connection. So when they encounter a man who can be silent, not cold, but calm, they feel the difference in their bodies. It makes them alert, curious, open. You're on a date. There's a pause in conversation. She's not sure what you're going to say next. And you just let it hang. You don't panic. You take a slow sip of your drink. You hold her gaze, just slightly. You smile. You let the silence do the heavy lifting. That alone can be more powerful than any pickup line. Why? Because she feels your steadiness, your groundedness, your ability to not chase the moment. That tells her everything she needs to know about how you handle pressure, about whether she'll feel safe with you, about whether you need attention or already have your own. The Stoics called it ataraxia, inner stillness, freedom from disturbance. And that's what silence is, the modern battlefield where men prove their ataraxia, where you show you're not owned by emotion. You're not rushing to perform. You're not begging to be liked. You're just there, present, whole. This isn't passive. It's strength in its purest form. Even in arguments, silence can be a weapon, not in a manipulative way, but in a masterful one. When a woman expects you to react, And you don't when you absorb the moment, breathe, and respond with clarity. Instead of emotion, you change the entire energy of the interaction. She might raise her voice. You keep yours low. She might push. You stay rooted. That calm creates contrast, and that contrast creates respect. Here's the twist. When you no longer fear silence, you begin to use it. You start noticing the moments where less is more, where no reaction creates more pull than a dozen compliments, where a simple pause can speak louder than a monologue. Even outside, dating it applies everywhere.